Hey, I'm Ben Marks from the Magento and Adobe Company. I've been serving as our sort of community evangelist now for a little over 5 years. But among all the things, I suppose I could count myself a community member since 2008. If we were to look at, it's interesting, the idea of a status quo for Magento and Adobe. I mean, it's been a pretty fast year since the acquisition. Since the acquisition closed. And I'd have to say, it might be cliche to say it, but I think there really is no status quo, right? If we found ourselves looking at what that implies, I think we'd be missing a ton of opportunity, right? Because we're all about, I'd say, Magento and Adobe in their own sort of separate tracks in the past have been the ones pushing the industries that they're involved in ever further, ever faster. And I think together what we will see is that we'll be pushing commerce, the whole of commerce, the idea of experience-driven commerce. We'll be pushing that forward further and faster. The Adobe open source story, yeah, it's right. I mean, when the acquisition was announced, I think we were all wondering, okay, well, so Adobe's getting into kind of the open source business, but it turns out that there's been a rich history of open source. So we've had there's been a lot of involvement from the employees of companies that have been acquired by Adobe over the years. I've met some of them, my colleagues that are still members of like the Apache Software Foundation, and then Adobe itself has spent a lot of spent some time and some resources to make it more possible to be good, active members of the open source world. So now it's the case that if you wanted to contribute to open source as an Adobe employee, well, a couple of years ago that would have been a long, lengthy process, getting clearances from legal, etc. And now that process is fast-tracked. It can be done in as little as half a day. And once it's done for everyone, right? So there is that side of it, but then I think also there's just a general awareness inside Adobe that open source is very much it's essential to pretty much every industry, including ours. So whether it's us ourselves or it's the industries of our customers, we know there's going to be open source there. So we're always looking to be good participants, good ecosystem members. Well, there's all sorts of. It's funny how much this business of e-commerce has grown. We traditionally it was always business to consumer, but right, Magento has the Magento community helped us lead the way into B2B dominance, and we've had as the channels sort of all cross over and more merchants from different perspectives are all coming into this. I think they can rely on Magento and Adobe to provide those experiences that really matter. The challenge that merchants have these days is that their customers are experiencing their brand. They're experiencing those commercial moments through all sorts of channels, and we've been doing a good job of making it feel more and more natural wherever they are. But that just means that now these merchants, retailers, they have to understand where the customer is coming from. So when he or she is entering into a transaction, we need to know how they were acquired, how they came to visit us this time, so that we're really present with them in their shopping moment. And Magento provides the flexibility to do that. However that looks for the consumer. And then also with Adobe, we have just years of building up a data expertise, right? So that we really do understand. We understand everything. We get that 360 view of the customer, and so we understand where they're coming from, and we also understand what it's going to take to bring them back. 10 years, Meet Magento Germany. I mean, you could say 10 years ago, who knew that we would be where we are today, right? So what kind of started as a bunch of people getting together because they didn't Magento was such a different software. And so these folks were getting together in the spirit of what they knew, right, which is open source. And they were coming together online, helping each other out. And then they said, why don't we actually meet in person? And that started this whole thing. And we see just how special that moment was by what we have today. I mean, the Meet Magento ecosystem has touched out to dozens and dozens of countries. And there's at least 20 events this year. As part of the Magento Association, as a board member, we're in charge of the Meet Magento brand going forward. So I mean, it's a profound honor. It's a very humbling challenge to be in that position. But all I know is that what we have is something that is incredibly special. And I look forward to helping continue that mission along with all of the organizers and all of the community members around the world. So happy 10th birthday, Meet Magento Germany. Thank you for everything, the examples that you've shown us so far, and I'm really looking forward to where we take this thing in the next 10 years.